Hello and welcome back to Harry's Jeti Clinic. This time we're going to look at a very special application, which is the Behotec combined retract and brake valve. But it's worth watching this even if you don't have a jet with a Behotec combined retract and brake valve, because it'll give you an idea of the capabilities of this system, how to do them, and you might think of ideas where, oh, actually, do you know what, I could use that myself on something else. Okay, so what is a Behotec combined retract and brake valve? Well, it's a servo-driven valve in which part of the movement is done for putting your retracts up or down. And once you've sent it to the retracts down position, driving it further is possible because that actually goes into the brake. I'm going to make an assumption here that it's actually a proportional brake, or at least proportional pressure output to your brake. And so actually a friend of mine has one of these and we got them programmed in, and I've had requests from other people as well to how to program the Behotec brake valve. It's beautifully straightforward. Obviously there's a few steps to it, but it all makes sense. So let's have a look at how we do it. Let's go into our menu, and let's say we haven't chosen gears or brakes or anything in the setup. So we'd first of all go into our model. We'd create the functions of retracts and brakes. So just to save time, I'll call R for retract, and I will assign a control to it, which will be my normal retract control. There we go. And say OK to that. No, we want to add another one in, which will be the brakes, which to save time I'm just going to call B. Say OK. And it will be operated. I'm going to use side slider P6 for it. Press the button, in we go, like that. We'll leave it proportional centered at the moment, and we'll come back to that because I'll show you the effects of it and how you can either adjust here or elsewhere. Okay, say OK to that. We'll need to assign a servo to it. It's already done because I was playing around with this earlier to make sure I had it right. So you would come into your servo assignment and it would look like this. Something like that. There's no retract or brake channel assigned yet. Don't press auto because it will assign a brake channel as well. Now remember, we're only using one servo here, driving one valve. So we can't assign both a retract and a brake channel because, well, we only need the one. So we'll assign it to the retract. There we are. And as you can hear, the servo, if I move my retract switch, the servo traveling full weight. Hopefully you haven't done this in your model because you've probably now overdriven the valve completely. So your model is still switched off. So say OK to that. Come out of there. Now, if it was just a retract valve, we could set the travels in servo setup. You'd go through to retract down here, and you could set max positive, max negative. That would be fine. Totally OK. But we can't do that this time because we're going to have to drive the servo further in one direction once we start the brake. Remember, it moves to the retract position and then you drive the valve even further into the brake position. So simply setting up the retract limits would block us doing that. So we can't do that. What we're going to do is use fine-tuning, function curve. You've got a function curve for both the retracts and the brakes. We'll go into the retract one, press the dial, and we'll set this to a 3-point curve. We won't be needing to use the midpoint. We move the dial to here. Now we press the rotary programming dial, and that gets us into the points. What I would suggest you do very strongly is bring both points to the middle or very close to it. Dial that one out. Now I press the button again. Notice that the circle that says which one you're dealing with jumps to the middle. We can leave that there. Jump again to that end. dial it all the way down to there. Now, this is where we can go to our retract valve, switch your radio on. Now, because we've turned the function curve down so low, there's very little travel. Isn't that nice? So you can switch the model on and you've got no chance of overdriving the valve, stalling the servo, breaking anything. So let's put the wheels to the up position. If we look back on here, which point will we be dealing with? It's very hard to see, but there's another circle, as well as the circle that says this is the one that we're programming. There's another circle with like crosshairs on it, like a little gun sight. And if you can just see a crosshair there. If I move the retracts to the down position, you see that circle has moved there. So that's the point that the switch is at. Come back. And the plain circle, without the sort of gun sight crosshairs, is the one that we're actually moving with the dial at the moment. Yeah? Okie dokie. Oh, it's gone to jumping 10 times because I pressed menu button to get the highlighter back. So, where's the up position? It's this one, so we need to be able to move that one. So, you can go to your retract valve. Imagine the valve is connected up here to the servo. The switch is in the up position, and you can dial in the travel until you're just at the end stop of the valve. We'll say it's about there. Press that, locks it in. Each time you press the programming dial, it jumps around the points, then it jumps to the outside the screen. Press it again, we're back inside. Here we are. Now you can see a little bit more clearly the crosshairs there, showing where the switch, or the control actually is at the moment. So now we switch to down, legs down. It's there. Also, the other circle shows this is the one that's being amended by the dial. So we come back to our servo and the valve. We turn it until the valve has reached the down position. We're happy with that. There we are. There's our curve. That's that done. So that is the retract element of it set quite happily. Let's say OK to that. Next, we need to get the brakes into it. And for that, we'll use a free mix. So we'll add from the brakes to the retract. We'll jump, we won't put a master value in, we'll jump straight to advanced. Now, we don't want the brake slider, P6, having any effect when the wheels are up. We only need it to work when the wheels are down. So that's a switch. So we can come straight through to here, set the switch. I've got my retract switch in the up position. I'm now going to move it to the down position because that's where I want the mix to be on. Say OK. So now the mix will only work when the retracts are not up but down. I can come back to my master value. What I'll do is move the brake lever. Remember, there's no value set in yet, so the servo and the valve are still at the down position. I've moved the brake lever to full brake, so I'll start swinging the values using the programming dial and see what happens. Which way do we want it to go? We need it to come further anti-clockwise. Well, that happens to be a positive value, but swung a negative value, it goes that way. There's a positive value, and swing that until I've got the amount of brake I need. But herein lies the problem. If I bring the brake lever back to neutral, that's where the down retracts was. When I bring the brake lever all the way to the off position, it's mixing out some of the down retract. And the reason is, of course, the mix is 0 at mid lever. Mix goes one way, mix goes the other way. We don't want that. Now there's two ways around this, and I'm going to show you both, because With any good software, there's actually multiple ways of achieving the same thing. We could stay here in the free mixes, go to the curve, and if I move the brake lever, watch the circle with the crosshairs move. It looks a bit odd, but that's because the mix percentage is only allowing it to go that far up. It's going full left, full right. What we need it to do is, when the brakes are up, not be going up here, but we need a curve that only goes from middle to there. So what we can do is change it to a 3-point curve, come down, keep pressing the button, move to this one. So that now is the point that will be adjusted. The brake lever is up, so it's this side here. So we swing that down all the way to 0, read the numbers. Lovely. What that will do now is mean that as I move the brake lever from no brakes, half brakes, nothing happens because we're on a flat curve. So let's adjust this point here. Give this a bit of a smooth line. And now, if we say OK to that, now what happens is the brake lever off, the retract valve is in the down position, and as I move the brake lever all the way, I get the brake function. I can prove that the mix is not removing the retract down by taking the brakes to the off position, and if I remove or you change at all the mix value, you see that nothing's happening. So the fact that the lever's at one end means it's not mixing. So let's set our nice mix value, move the brake lever, there we go. So that's one way of doing that compensation. And just to confuse you thoroughly, let's look at another way of doing it. I'll come along here, I'll take that curve back to a standard, say OK. So now, with the brake lever off, unfortunately, if I change the mix value, it's moving what should be a fixed down retract point. Okay, we can sort that. We've done looking at the mix curve. Another way of doing it is to alter the behavior of the P6 control itself. So we come back to the functions assignment. The brakes are on P6. Remember, it's a proportional control, which is what we want, but it also has a center there. So I've got P6 at the center, the little detente in the middle, so I can move it to minus 100, center, plus 100. What I'm going to do is move it to the off position. In fact, we'll try the on position and say stop being centered. Got that the wrong way around, so I'll say centering. I'll move it to the off position, say stop being centered. Silly me, it's the right way around first time. The brake lever is in the off position, but it's saying 100%. In the on position, it's saying 0. I just reverse it. There we are. So now, with the brake lever fully up, instead of going from minus 100, 0 plus 100, it's going from 0 to 100. Say OK to that. And there we go. That would fix our mix. Pop in here. And just because we've been messing about with the control, we need to swing that to a different direction. otherwise it was unmixing. So there we are. Once again we've done it. We'll put the master value back to 0 to show you that with the brake lever off and the mix at 0, there's the down retract position. I'm going to swing the mix value around, positive, negative, makes no difference to the retract's down position. I'll move with the mix value at 0, move the brake lever all the way to the down position, so full brakes, and now I just have to turn the dial the correct way to dial in the mix that I want. Dial it clockwise, no, I want it anti-clockwise, and there we go. So full brake, no brake, but down retract. Up, down, brakes.